is Teresita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and today we're reading Saturnastra Loki. This is Chapter 8, Part 1, Beneath Your Blackened Wings. It was the first time she had seen such advertisement, and it definitely hit the mark. When it came time to finalize her purchase, Ingrid's face turned big red, whispering below her breath, she mouthed, "Not again." "It's fine, I'll pay for your silly hat," said Loki, petting her head. Remember in the previous one, a guy had bumped into her? Mm-hmm. The guy robbed her. You need to put your purse in your chest, suggested Alida. "It was there," said Ingrid, infuriated. "Impressive," said Loki. "You jerk," snapped Ingrid. "Sorry, I just gotta admire the talent, said Loki. "Shut up," she said. The outing was cut short after that incident, and Ingrid's humor only recovered later that night when one of the guards came asking for her, and he returned her stolen purse with all of his coin in stash, and this was a first for Ingrid. Loki and his friend left the citadel faster than they had anticipated. After just a month, Ingrid felt like it was time to move on, and her only regret was that the doors behind the actual citadel were then left closed to her eyes. And Loki had seen the castle within the citadel, which was nothing special. It was simply a large manor surrounded by a fortress. And this was enough to quell Ingrid's curiosity, and for the troll princess, all manner of manners were one and the same. It was a foggy early fall morning when Loki saddled the horses, and the group had ample supplies, more than enough now that their party size had shrunk. And when he whistled himself out of Loki's service after meeting with Leo at the canteen, and he was allowed to stay in the citadel for the moment. As they rode out, Alida asked Loki, "Do you think it was safe to leave Red behind?" "Perhaps. The roads are not safe for anyone, so helpless," explained Loki. "I see," said Alida, lowering her gaze. And as they progressed, the trio heard a large rumbling and cracking, and traveling in the opposite direction was an army of some 8,000 men, with all the 1,200 men in the supply line. Silent Loki said, "What a bother." And from time to time some soldiers did stare at the carriage. However, all they saw was the pretty noble lady looking out the window, and a gallant coachman wearing a shimmering platinum armor. And Loki had altered his appearance at the moment to avoid drawing too much attention to himself. In those days, it was not too uncommon to see nobles traveling with almost very little escort, and the mercenary corps were refusing to work at any other time but the summer. And the change had come about a year ago, just after Bersames died, and it seemed to the mercenaries that his death had brought a curse down upon the kingdom. And Loki stopped the carriage when he reached the top of the meadow, and the army was swallowed up by a fog which had acquired a strange pungent red hue. Ingrid asked, "What's the hold-up?" "Nothing," said Loki, tugging at the reins a bit to make the horses continue their trot. Ingrid, looking back at the citadel, saw the red fog, and she closed the blinds and she shifted to her purse, and she eventually brought out a small book. And Ingrid had a dozen of those tiny little books, and without red, Alida's only source of conversation was her sister Ingrid. And Ingrid noticed Alida staring at her tiny book, and closing it she asked, "Do you wish to read it?" "I can't read that book," said Alida sadly. "Oh, are you illiterate?" asked Ingrid, shocked. "Not really. I was referring to my inability to read very tiny text," explained Alida. "I see," said Ingrid. And she opened the book again, and after a few minutes she said, "It's because I am half far-sighted, and I can see things from far away clearly, but what's in front of me is hard to see." "Can you magic yourself a solution?" I have also seen humans wear reading glasses. You could try those," said Alida. "Troll magic draws like from like. If I were to fix my eyes, I would have to damage the eyes of another creature. And I'm not so mean-spirited to do so. As for glasses, well, they rarely measure up to my standards, and after using them for an hour, it gives me a terrible headache." Eavesdropping as usual, Loki opened the tiny window behind the driver's seat, and throwing a hand within, he said, "Try out this one." And he then handed Ingrid a pair of cat-eye shaped glasses. And the lens was made of... The rings of the glasses were made of gold with two tiny O's made of Murano, and upon closer inspection, Ingrid's eyes were able to see that the inside of the O's was the shape of a pink flower. Smiling coldly, she said, "Thank you, but it is a bit unnecessary. I will try them when I get a chance." Though if you do not see me using them, you must know that it is because of the headaches. It's fine, said Loki, smiling. He then slammed the window shut so that Ingrid could not see his annoyed face. And after this exchange, Alida coiled into herself and entered into one of her sleep cycles. This one lasted longer than her usual spell, and one sleepless night Ingrid sighed and said, "How I envy her." Alida awoke after 2 months, and when hunger pangs forced her to rise from her slumber, and frowning she said, "What took you guys so long? Why didn't you wake me up sooner? What, you seem to be enjoying your little cat nap. And I am one to let sleeping dogs lie," remarked Loki. Ingrid said nothing. She simply shrugged her shoulders, and Alida saw that her sister was reading a large book. The cover read plainly, Casus Sodum. Time?
9 minutes, 30 seconds.
Frowning, Alida asked, "Anything interesting happened?" "I am at the part where the author is forced to marry her cousin." "What a bunch of degenerates," remarked Ingrid. "What's wrong with marrying your cousin?" asked Alida. Don't you know the shooter will be born as a malformed, disgusting creature with no arms or legs," explained Ingrid. Narrowing her eyes, Alida hissed, "So I suppose her parents were cousins, 'cause she's a snake lady." He was born with no arms or legs, 'cause she's a snake lady. "Not really, don't you forget you were born of your mother," explained Loki. "I'm still not at all convinced about that story," insisted Alida. "There's no point fussing about it. You are a girl, and you were born. Nothing else needs to concern you," said Loki. He then handed her a bunny. "By the way, I had this adorable rabbit for you to eat." Taking the bunny, Ingrid said, "No, don't kill the innocent bunny. Look there," she said, pointing to an opossum. "Kill that ugly critter instead." "I happen to like opossums, and that one is with child," insisted Loki. "How can you tell?" "Well, never mind. Since the opossum pleased the belly, it must certainly avoid the death penalty," said Ingrid, laughing. I am rather in the mood for eggs today," suggested Alida. "What type of eggs do you favor?" asked Loki. "Any type. I'm not picky," said Alida. "You could try some actual cooked food," suggested Ingrid. "Just because you look like a snake doesn't mean that you have to eat like one. I was raised with what was made available to me, and now my palatar is ruined, or should I say, in tune to a snake-like diet," explained Alida. "Were you fed as a snake living among the carnivores?" asked Ingrid. "Not really. Bimmy took me in when no one else would, and my earliest memory is being sold to him along with a bunch of other snakes. So I lived among the reptiles during my early infancy, at least as far as I was told," explained Alida. "And Bimmy saw something in me that no one else did. And he thought he saw the glint of intelligence in my eyes, so he bought a very smart snake. And it was not till my 7th summer that I started to develop human features. And as far as anyone, including myself, was concerned, I was a snake." "Interesting," commented Loki. And I do tend to get like that sometimes whenever I spot a form for too long. For a while, I genuinely believed I was a giant and even forgot my mission. I find that a bit hard to believe, and more importantly, pray do tell, what is this so-called pompous mission of yours?" asked Ingrid, giving a slight grin. My mission never existed, so there's no point in discussing it as far as anyone in the universe is concerned. My mission was just another grandiose delusion," said Loki. "Oh, so you were forced to deal with them," said Ingrid, suddenly turning serious. Feeling left out of the conversation, Alida slid away from the small cooking fire towards the horses. As before, they grew restless as she got nearer, and Alida, sighing, said below her breath, "One would think they would get used to me by now." And appearing behind her, Loki said, "They could be more used to you should you have a mind to do so." "Pray, sir, solution, what form must I undertake to be likened by these lesser creatures?" asked Alida sarcastically. "You could turn into a horse, or at least smell like one," suggested Loki. "I am not a shapeshifter, is that what you're implying? And I would be remiss to be unfortunate enough to smell like a horse," said Alida. Loki placed his closed fist in front of Alida, and then he opened it up to reveal an unfertilized quail egg. And Alida opened her eyes wide, and a snake-like smile painted on her thin lips. And quite pleased, she said, "How do you know?" "I can read minds, or haven't you figured that out by now?" "Oh, he can read minds, so haven't you figured that out by now?" said Ingrid, and she added, "And I had concluded my meal, and I will now be entering the carriage, and we will leave when you are ready, Loki." Time?
5 minutes, 24 seconds.
Ingrid then entered the carriage and closed the curtains behind her, and as soon as she entered within, Loki brought out a bowl and placed within it a bit of oatmeal, and he then boiled some goat milk and mixed it with oatmeal along with sliced almonds, and after mixing them, he added a bit of cinnamon to the top before he started to eat. And Alida sat down beside Loki and ate the small quail egg and Loki had acquired for her, and once they concluded their meal, they continued on their lonely journey towards Sibila. And Alida did not know what to expect of the home of the reclusive dragon riders, and she doubted if they were going to gain entry or not. And Loki already knew what to expect of the city and had a special sigil which granted him access to the city, and the sigil could only be magically imprinted by a dragon rider of the highest order. And no one knew which dragon rider fell under the category of highest order. And later that night, while Loki pretended to fish by the river, he saw a strange sight approach him. Not one to marvel at anything, Loki could study the maiden whose raven hair went as low as her knee, and the way she was standing and staring at him seemed oddly familiar. The girl walked towards the shallow stream towards Loki, and with her bare foot skimming through the water in a zigzag rhythm, and she wrapped her hands around Loki's neck as she delivered a feverish, biting kiss, the sort of kiss an unexperienced girl gives in mimicry of a passionate kiss she had seen before. And Loki pushed her away with a swift motion, and she fell back into the stream, and the curly black hair covered her face, and as she heaved and sighed in a tremendous fury, and she ran back towards the forest from whence she came. Once she left, a familiar red head rose to the river, and looking in the direction of the maiden, the crisp-haired crone named Hirt said, "No, that was certainly unexpected. I don't know, probably has something to do with my animal magnetism," said Loki, laughing, like a random shake shot up out of nowhere and kissed him, and then he just pushed her away, and then she fled. Animal magnetism. But do tell me, how will you handle the situation as Hirt? There isn't anything to handle. People can help being infatuated by what they imagine is strange and mysterious. It can be helped if every so often some lass gets infatuated with me. It is not as if I am peacocking about it, and the government has my answer, so there you have it. Consider the situation handled or whatever, said Loki proudly. He lowered her head into the water and gave a witty remark which was obscured by the bubbles in her mouth, and it was certainly an odd picture indeed, considering the shallowness of the river, and her position in the water made it seem that it was actually deeper than what it was. And when the sun rose, Loki returned to see the sisters, and after eating a light breakfast, they resumed their journey towards Sibila, and close to dusk they arrived at the outskirts of the city, and a flat wall against a granite mountain, and there was but a long guard, and the usual group of humans trying to gain entry into Sibila. If it wasn't for the long guard, one would not know that there was an entrance to anything. Time?
2 minutes, 20 seconds.
The guards of Sibila were easily distinguishable from the other knights. Unlike their peers, they did not sport armor made from draconic parts. Instead, they wore cotton and satin uniforms decorated with black and white lines, and something about the shape of it reminded Loki of the Swiss guards. And the only weapon sported by the guard was a rapier tied to a leather belt, and he seemed like a poorly equipped fellow. And the only thing that often deterred visitors from assaulting the fellow was the scales around his eyes and parts of his cheeks. So, he doesn't need an armor, he eats the armor because he's part dragon. You don't need an armor if you're naturally born with, armor dragon skills. So if one looked closely enough, they would be able to see that they were purely ornamentation, and among the group pestering the guard was a band of traveling performers, and they were asking the guard for entrance into the city to replenish the supplies. And the guard was cordially telling them to wait while the merchants prepared an assortment of supplies to trade with them outside the city. And peering outside, Ingrid saw a massive chromatic dragon, cobalt-colored, descend the top of the mountains with what appeared to be a training stand in his claws, and putting on tiny glasses, the dragon said to the merchant, here they, come get it. We have rice, beef jerky, and mineral water for the weary travelers." And after buying the supplies, the traveling circus force went to set up camp, and annoyed the guard said, "You said we were not allowed to do that." "We're just setting up camp," protested a fellow. "The sun is still out, and there's plenty of nice places in the forest. Just take your stuff and set up camp elsewhere," insisted the guard. And he then said to the other travelers, "If you have any other supplies, be on your way. We are not taking any visitors." "Oh well, at least we tried. Alright, bye-bye and God bless."